everyone, it's Shell from Scrap Secrets and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is using the journals that I got from Joann's a while ago, and I thought I would use them with some of the new product that I got from Waffle Flower, including the stencil set for the background, the bokeh stencil. So this is a 3-piece set that has a note on each layer of what type of color you should use. So layer 1 is light, then there's medium and dark. So that's important if you're not using something like a distress oxide where you can color over top of a darker color. So you want to make sure if you're using some kind of regular ink that you are following that so that you can see the color on top. Oh, I'm also going to be using the Retro Christmas Tree die and stencil set. So we are going to start out with the bokeh, the lightest layer, and I did tape it down so that I didn't get any ink on the other page. I definitely failed because when I used some of the darker colors, I did end up getting some on the other page, but we'll cover that with something else. So I'm going to flip the stencil around because as you can see, the one circle, the stencil is actually narrower than the book is. So it doesn't finish that circle off perfectly. So I'm going to go back in with a circle that is the same size, that's a full circle, and fill that in. And then actually there is a little bit of a line, so I go back and do it all over again. So we have like a full circle. So I picked one of the other circles and then I taped that back down and did the exact same thing. So we're going to do the second layer, and I don't think I said it, but I use Salvage Patina Distress Oxide for the first. For the second, we are going to be using Prized Ribbon, and for the third, we actually are going to be using 2 colors of Distress Oxide because what I didn't think about was Prized Ribbon and Chip Sapphire are very similar in color. The Chip Sapphire has a little bit more of a purple undertone to it, so we actually end up using some purple, and I believe it was maybe seedless preserves, but you'll see that in a minute. So that is the second layer, and then I have to do the same exact thing with one of the other circles and finish filling that in again because the stencil is more narrow than the page. So once that was done, I just put that stencil off to the side, put the third stencil back down, and I'm going to go ahead and stencil these out. These are super easy to line up. They will overlap with other layers, so don't think that you've lined it up wrong, but there is a etched line on the outside, so it makes it really easy to line it up. And I just made sure that the top of the stencil went to the top of the page so that it was really easy to get aligned. So this is the Chipped Sapphire, and you'll see that I am going to switch brushes in a second because this brush didn't seem like it was picking up a lot of color. These are the rabbit hole brushes, and I love them. The white ones were, and I loved them for a while, and then something seemed to go wrong with them. So most of my rabbit hole brushes did not last. Now these are cheapy ones from Amazon, and they have most of them have lasted a really long time. So I would definitely buy them again over. I don't think the other company, the Rabbit Hole Designs, I don't think they even sell the blending brushes anymore. But you'll see that I'm going over top of it with Villainous Potion. That's what it is. I knew it was a dark purple. So I do go over that, so it does have a little bit of a purple tint to it. And once I finished covering everything on that stencil, I don't think there was anything on this one that I had to go back and do a second layer on. But I thought what I was going to do was go ahead and go over it with some Stormy Sky. But you can see that it moved some of the colors, probably because I had just finished it and it wasn't dry. So I tried a couple of things. The first one was to take a dry paintbrush, spray some clean water down on my surface, and try to pick up some of that color because Distress Oxide and Distress inks are reactive with water. So I was able to get some of it up, but that purple was so dark. And I also believe because it was 2 layers, it was the Chip Sapphire and then the Villainous Potion on top of it, and I didn't really let it dry, that it was hard to come up. The blue came up, but not that purpley. So I bagged that, and then what I decided to do was to watercolor the background. Now, I think I probably would have done something different because my Stormy Sky is kind of a grayish blue. I don't know if that's the color that it should have been. I think mine might be a little bit wrong. I think everybody else's that I've seen with Stormy Sky is a little bit more blue than this blue gray, but I probably should have used tumbled glass on the background, but I didn't have that on my desk. Stormy Sky was what I had, so I'm just going to go with it. So I'm going to paint in between all of the bokeh circles and the diamonds. I'm going to do the whole entire page. I did not leave all of this in here because I didn't think you guys needed to see me do an entire page of this. It did take a while because I went around the edges and I did have to keep going back in and putting more ink down on my work surface. I was getting some darker spots in areas. Again, I'm not great with watercoloring or painting with Distress Oxides, but I do like doing it. So while I was waiting for that to dry, I decided that I was going to ink up the layers of the tree. So there are 2 stencils for the tree. Layer 1 is parts 1 and 3 of the tree. Layer 2 is parts 2 and 4 of the tree. So I decided to go in with some pine needles, which is this color, and then I think I went in with rustic wilderness for the other one. I like the way that I left a little bit more of a highlight on the first one rather than the second one. I think I probably would have done all 4 layers in this color, in the same color, but it came out fine in the end. I just tried to leave a highlight in the middle. I did watch the video from Waffle Flower on this. So this is Rustic Wilderness, yes. So I think this one was a little bit too different than the cardstock that I cut it out of. And those little holes in there, they can be ornaments, they can be lights, you can do a lot of stuff on there. I didn't realize that those were actual cutouts until I cut the image out. I wasn't thinking about it when I saw it online and purchased it. You could do a full sheet behind it and then cut it out so you could have different colors of lights and things like that. But what I decided to do, which unfortunately got corrupted, was I took some red and white gemstones and I placed them over top of all of the holes to go ahead and create kind of like ornaments on the tree. But before I did that, I actually used some Picket Fence Distress ink, put it onto my block, sprayed it with a little bit of water, and then took my brush and just flicked that white Distress ink onto the background. I'm also going to do the same thing on the tree. I don't know where my fan brush is. I like using that better. I think that it gives me more control. This brush was fine. It did the job. I didn't want a ton of white drops on there, but you can see it kind of went all over my desk. I think more of it got on my desk than it did on the tree or the page. So I'm going to use my Barely Arts glue to put glue behind the tree. I did try the best that I could to avoid those little holes in the tree so that I wasn't putting glue through them, and glued it down to the page. And then this is the part where the footage got corrupted, but you can see that I did put the red gemstones on it as well as some of the white ones. And now I'm taking a Spectrum Noir sparkle pen in clear and just going over them. And in person, it looks super sparkly. I'm not really sure how much you can see on camera, but I tried to make sure that I wasn't moving the Distress Oxide at all because it is reactive with water or anything that's wet, which is what this pen is because it has some glitter in it. So just added that to the top of it, and that is the project for today. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I know that it's no longer Christmas in July, but we will be starting the Christmas series soon. So super excited about that, and I hope that you guys have a great day, and I will see you again real soon for another video. Bye!